Coming up on 5 Minute News. Trump seeks recusal of DC Judge Tanya Chutkan. Biden makes powerful visits to India and Vietnam. And US approves new COVID vaccines as virus evolves. It's Tuesday, September 12. I'm Anthony Davis. Lawyers for Donald Trump asked the federal judge presiding over his election subversion case in Washington to recuse herself yesterday, saying her past public statements about the former president and his connections to the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol call into question whether she can be fair. The recusal motion from Trump's lawyers takes aim at U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, a former assistant public defender who was nominated to the bench by President Barack Obama and has stood out as one of the toughest punishers of January 6 defendants. The request is a long shot given the high threshold for recusal and because the decision on whether to recuse belongs to Chutkan, who is unlikely to see cause to step aside from the case. Even so, the request that she give up the high-stakes trial marks the latest flashpoint in already delicate relations between the defense team and the judge, who has repeatedly cautioned against inflammatory public comments from Trump, but has nonetheless been lambasted on social media by him. Special counsel Jack Smith's team signaled its own concern about his comments, writing last week that Trump's daily statements he has derided her as highly partisan could taint a potential jury pool. Chutkan ordered Smith's team to file any opposition to Trump's recusal bid by Thursday. In asking Chutkan to step aside, the Trump legal team is relying on a familiar playbook. He tried unsuccessfully to get the judge removed from the hush money case against him in New York State Court, but the judge last month rejected Trump's demand that he step aside, saying he is certain of his ability to be fair and impartial. Federal judges are supposed to step aside in cases where their impartiality might reasonably be questioned. President Joe Biden has wrapped up a 5-day diplomatic sprint through Vietnam and India that put a spotlight on imperfect partners that he believes will be crucial for global stability in the years to come. The whirlwind visit demonstrated that as Russia's war on Ukraine plods on with no end in sight, Biden appears to have become more willing to look past differences with complicated allies that he chooses to keep close for the sake of stability in the Indo-Pacific, Middle East and beyond. Biden closed out his Asia trip in Hanoi on Monday by spotlighting new business deals and partnerships with Vietnam, after celebrating the communist government's elevation of the U.S.-Vietnam relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. The president's pragmatic approach was also on display over the weekend at the Group of 20 summit in New Delhi, in his friendly interactions with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, two leaders who have not shied from saying no to Biden and have paid little regard when he's raised concerns about their human rights records. In Hanoi, Biden showcased the new elevated U.S. diplomatic status with Vietnam, even as the country is reported to be nearing a weapons deal with Russia that would contravene U.S. prohibitions on countries doing business with Russian military and intelligence agencies. Major business announcements during Biden's first ever visit to Vietnam included Boeing's $7.5 billion deal with Vietnam Airlines to buy 50 aircraft and Arizona-based Amcor Technologies plans for a $1.6 billion factory in Bac Ninh province. Biden said his visit to Vietnam was about burnishing stronger ties with Hanoi and sought to push back against the notion that his travels were connected to Washington's tensions with Beijing. Yet his administration has put a premium on strengthening relations in the Indo-Pacific in the face of growing concerns about China's military and economic assertiveness. The US approved updated COVID-19 vaccines on Monday, hoping to rev up protection against the latest coronavirus strains and blunt any surge this fall and winter. The Food and Drug Administration decision opens the newest shots from Moderna and Pfizer and its partner BioNTech to most Americans, even if they've never had a coronavirus vaccination. It's part of a shift to treat fall updates of the COVID-19 vaccine, much like getting a yearly flu shot. There's still another step. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention must sign off. A CDC advisory panel is set to issue recommendations today on who most needs the updated shots. Vaccinations could begin later this week, and both the COVID-19 and flu shot can be given at the same visit. A third vaccine maker, Novavax, said its updated shot is still being reviewed by the FDA. COVID-19 hospitalizations have been rising since late summer, although thanks to lasting immunity from prior vaccinations and infections, not nearly as much as this time last year. But protection wanes over time, and the coronavirus continually churns out new variants that can dodge prior immunity. It's been about a year since the last time the vaccines were tweaked, and only about 20% of adults ever received that earlier update. The FDA isn't calling this latest round a booster, but instead a vaccine updated to better match the current circulating virus. The new recipe targets an Omicron variant named XBB.1.5, replacing outdated combination vaccines that mixed protection against the original coronavirus strain and an older version of Omicron. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.